Hi everyone and welcome back to This Case Takes Place. For today's case, we're going to be looking, it's essentially about the case of Madeleine McCann, but it also crosses into Christian Brückner, who is the main suspect according to the is it the British? The Germans definitely do.
Yes.
And
now he's the Aguido also in Portugal.
Yeah.
So he's a prime suspect for many countries, but
Yeah.
the Germans are like, no, he's our only suspect, and we are convinced that we have evidence that he killed her. So it's not just a missing person inquiry,
and
it's a murder investigation.
And this isn't a normal guy. This is probably, I think there's not many people that rival him in sheer, just evil.
Yeah.
I don't think you can describe him as any other way but evil. So who is Christian Brückner? So Christian was born in Germany in December of 1976. By all accounts, Christian's early life was quite fractured. He was abandoned by his birth mother when he was young, and he spent his childhood in an orphanage. He was later taken in by the B family, who tried to raise them the best they could, but all of their attempts, however, were unsuccessful to say the least.
It makes me think, those stories of like orphanages, like evil people who they were evil from the moment they were a baby. Like the mother just abandoned him. Did she somehow know that he was like a bad egg?
I thought that, when we were looking into it, I was like, it's almost like they kind of knew already.
Yeah.
So even as a boy, Christian did stand out. He taunted classmates and picked fights, and one former classmate recalled saying, "I've only ever had one fight in my life, and that was with Christian B. He spent the year sneering at me, pushing me, doing all kinds of things until I snapped. I told him to go back to the children's home where he came from, something I regret saying, but he jumped on me, and we traded punches until a teacher had to pull us apart." No one liked him, this classmate said. Not the students, not the teachers, no one. Everyone kept their distance from him. And years later, when this person learnt that the same boy from his childhood was being accused of killing Madeleine, he was stunned, but as I can imagine, he probably wasn't too shocked. Into Christian's teenage years, he was described as wild, uncontrollable, and someone who would often steal cars and behave inappropriately around young girls. It would be after Christian's adoptive father suffered a crash that he was left in a wheelchair, and it was ultimately decided that the family just couldn't handle him any longer. So at 15, Christian was sent away from home to a delinquent boys' school. It would be in 1993 that Christian committed his first known act of SA, and he essayed a 6-year-old in a playground and then exposed himself to another child just moments later. A psychiatrist report soon followed where they noted that he requires intense supervision. But the supervision never came. Before his 2-year juvenile sentence would be imposed, Christian fled Germany at the age of 18 with a girlfriend. He abandoned the apprenticeship that he was doing at college at the time, and he just chased freedom in Portugal instead, the place where years later his name would once again resurface. This time in one of the most infamous missing children cases in all of history.
Police finally caught up with him in 1999 when he returned back to Germany to serve his sentence. As soon as he was released, he returned to Portugal, where he scraped together enough money to buy a used aubergine-coloured Jaguar XJR6. Christian moved into a dilapidated house on the outskirts of Praia de Luz. Neighbours called it run down and isolated. A friend dismissed it as a typical bachelor pad. His relationships too were transitory, short-lived affairs with women in both Portugal and Germany. And it seems he had many girlfriends, and the idea is insane. Could women not tell that he's a complete monster? How does someone how does he pull so many women?
I think these kind of people can switch on a charm if need be.
Wild.
I think these narcissist, psychopathic kind of people are very good at putting on this charming front.
Yeah. Could you imagine them being the girlfriend later on and finding out everything he did?
Yeah.
Horrific.
Terrifying.
Over the years, Christian drifted through an assortment of jobs, installing swimming pools, repairing cars, and serving in bars. The money wasn't enough, however, and soon he turned to side hustles, so fixing cars, selling lost golf balls. He even picked oranges from a nearby farm at one point. But it didn't take long for those side hustles to turn criminal, and in particular to burglary. During a later SA trial, a witness testified to seeing Christian scale open windows of holiday apartments. To close friends, he bragged about going after tourist shit. Wallets, cameras, passports, items he'd steal while people napped or slept through the night. It was during this time that he performed his second SA that authorities know of officially. On the 2nd of September 2005, Christian targeted a 72-year-old American woman named Diane Menkes. According to court documents, he entered through an open living room door at around 10:30 p.m. He tied her up, beat her with a 30-centimeter curved sword, essayed her, and forced her into the kitchen to hand over money before fleeing with her computer. The Portuguese police investigated the case at the time but dropped the case in 2006. Although he wasn't caught for the crime at that time, it wouldn't be long before Christian was behind bars for a completely unrelated matter. In April of 2006, shortly after, he was convicted for stealing diesel fuel in Portugal. It later emerged that when Christian was caught stealing diesel fuel, he confessed to the judge that he'd already been convicted as a teenager for child essay. So court documents from that time revealed that he admitted to his crime during his first interrogation. And why that's important later is that would bring more controversy to the Portuguese police because they knew that a known registered child sex offender was in the local area. After his release, Christian B returned to Germany briefly, but before long he slipped quietly back into Praia da Luz, returning to the same remote house he'd used before. He drifted between Germany and Portugal frequently, living on the fringes, surviving on odd jobs, scams, and a revolving door of more relationships. By 2007, the year Madeleine disappeared, Christian was firmly back in Praia da Luz, leading a double life that mixed casual work with more criminal activity. In 2013, Christian was then charged with possession of child abuse material and the essay of a 5-year-old. Devastatingly, he only received a 15-month sentence.
How do you get 15 months for that? Makes
so
no sense.
bad. So bad. Only 15 months for that poor 5-year-old. Horrific.
Yeah, my God. It was then in 2016 that a shocking discovery was made. It was on the 14th of January when a stray dog began sniffing around an old abandoned factory in central Germany. It was a crumbling property that Christian had bought years earlier, and just left to rot. The animal scratched at the earth looking for something buried beneath, and when the police arrived, they thought they were uncovering some kind of grave. And what they found was indeed a body, Christian's own dead dog. But underneath it lay something even darker, a plastic bag sealed and hidden beneath the animal's remains. And inside, detectives found a wallet stuffed with USB sticks and memory cards. When investigators plugged them, the screen lit up in horror. This discovery triggered a full-scale raid on the property. Over 100 officers were involved, uncovering some of the most despicable things imaginable. Now, what they found is incredibly upsetting to hear. So it's more than 4,000 images and videos of child essay involving victims as young as 4. Chat logs in which Christian bragged and fantasized, writing, "I want to catch something small and just use it for a few days." In other exchanges, he allegedly described wanting to document exactly how they will be tortured, disturbing plans to drug and abduct a mother and daughter near a kindergarten, and to assault another young blonde girl who was again 4. They found 25 children's swimsuits, toys and bicycles. It was a grotesque collection that he had acquired over a number of time, but Christian didn't have any children of his own, so heaven knows where they came from. My God.
Yeah.
They also found a wooden chair fitted with restraints, suggesting that he had more than fantasies and he intended to act upon these fantasies. They also found chemicals believed to have been used for drugging victims. They found 3 illegal firearms, boxes of ammunition, and folders filled with disturbing photographs. They essentially found altered images of him committing heinous acts upon people. So basically, he's
putting his face on these other images as if he's in the situation. Yeah.
And they also found one wall which had red paint on it that seemed to be both a confession and a curse. He wrote, "My girlfriend betrayed me, taught me to hate." As a result of the trove this evidence found, Christian was charged with child essay and the possession of child essay material in 2017. Again, devastatingly, he only received a 15-month sentence.
What's with the 15 months?
I don't get it. And from this point onwards, he's obviously an absolute danger to society.
Yeah.
Be like to the point where like he's going to do something.
Yeah.
It's not if, it's when.
Yeah, exactly.
If he hasn't done it already.
How can someone like that be on the street?
Yeah.
It's beyond comprehension, truly.
It really is. Around this time in 2017, following the televised anniversary of Madeleine's disappearance, investigators began to suspect that Christian may have had something to do with the disappearance. This is because of one of Christian's friends, a man named Bushing, who phoned the Met Police in 2008 and then again in 2017 regarding a conversation that he alleges he had with Christian in 2008 at a music festival. Now, Christian allegedly all but confessed to the murder of Madeleine. So Christian and this Bushing guy, they were talking about the case of Madeleine. And this is when Bushing alleges that Christian said that the Madeleine girl didn't scream. Bushing said that Christian then suddenly gave him a look as if he had realised that he had just revealed something that he shouldn't have. And the next day, without saying a word, Christian up and left. Now, once investigators heard about this story by Bushing, the investigators tracked down an insurance claim signed by Christian showing that he crashed his motorhome at a festival in Spain in April of 2008. Now, this does add some credibility to Bushing's claim, as it puts Christian at the location where the conversation allegedly took place. However, as you can imagine, this wasn't enough to formally charge Christian with Madeleine's disappearance. And upon his release, Christian's release, he just drifted into homelessness, claimed that the police were harassing him, and he also claims that the police used to bother him as he tried to sleep on benches, which is really sad.
Good.
In September of 2018, while holidaying in Milan, the Italian police arrested Christian and extradited him back to Germany. In December of 2019, German prosecutors then finally charged him with the essay of the older woman. It was 14 years after the assault, and Christian was finally convicted again, but unfortunately, he was only sentenced to 7 years. His victim by then was 86 years old, and she had lived with the trauma for more than a decade before finally seeing him behind bars.
Why 7 years? Imagine going to someone's house, violently beating them with and threatening them with a curved sword, essaying this poor older lady, and then only get 7 years.
No, I don't understand the leniency towards this person. He's obviously an extremely violent sexual sadist. It's like the worst of the worst. He's obviously a step away from murder.
Yes.
Or even if he didn't kill anyone.
That's horrific.
He's ruining lives, multiple lives over and over again.
Oh my gosh.
Either get rid or put him away.
Yeah, permanently.
Put him down.
It's clearly a danger. It should not be, because then you're just waiting for him to do the next thing. To then what? Slap him on the wrist again?
Yeah, for 7 months and you can just do it again.
People who don't pay taxes go to prison for longer.
Yeah, legit.
For tax evasion. It's such a joke.
Or pirating DVDs.
Yeah.
People legit get longer prison sentences. Or even tweets now.
Yeah. Absolutely, in the UK, for sure.
So, yeah.
Horrible. Christian was set for release by the end of 2025, and German prosecutors were scrambling to try and find a way to keep such a dangerous man behind bars. As a German national, Christian can be prosecuted in Germany for certain crimes committed abroad. So, in 2022, prosecutors charged Christian with 5 more offences. 3 aggravated essays and 2 child essay offences, said to have occurred in Portugal between 2000 and 2017. In particular, the charges were the essay of another elderly lady in her home, the essay of a 14-year-old girl in his home, the essay of a 20-year-old in her home, and then masturbating in front of 2 children. Now, get this, shockingly, the 5th offence, the last one, that is of masturbating in front of a child, actually involved the 11-year-old girl running to her dad, and her dad found Christian and pinned him down. Portuguese authorities arrested him, but for reasons unknown, the Portuguese police never charged him. So now he's being tried for that crime in Germany. Now, the trial examined victim statements, including one victim who described her attacker as having a German accent and having a mark on his right upper thigh. Christian has the German accent and also has the birthmark on his upper thigh. The courts then turned to other witnesses. The main witness was the man Bushing that we described earlier. Bushing claims he stole videos from Christian's home in 2006 that showed Christian had filmed these assaults against the elderly woman and the teenage girl, and another witness said that Christian bragged about assaulting a German teenager. However, despite this circumstantial evidence, the court acquitted Christian on all charges. The judges ruled that there was a lack of physical evidence and the witness testimony was unreliable and uncorroborated. Most frustratingly, the 2017 allegation of indecent exposure lacked evidence linking the man that Portuguese police arrested as Christian. So the Portuguese didn't have enough evidence, didn't have any files to prove that the man that they arrested in that case was actually the man sitting in front of them, Christian.
Which goes back into how bad they are at logging facts. Yeah, so it's an inferior method of catching criminals.
Exactly, so inferior. And the courts even then, because the 11-year-old girl, who's now obviously an adult, testified in court saying, yeah, that's the man who I caught masturbating that I saw. And they were like, look, you were too young, like too much time has passed and you were a child back then. Your testimony is unreliable as well. So the string of charges against Christian was how authorities had planned to keep this dangerous man behind bars. Prosecutors are currently appealing the decision, but as of now, he has been acquitted of all 5 charges. Now, the string of charges against Christian that they had tried to put on him was their original plan on how to keep this dangerous man behind bars. His release date was looming and was set for September 2025. But thankfully, authorities had one last trick up their sleeve. A lingering €1,400 fine from another offence was meant to keep him behind bars until at least January of 2026. And this would hopefully give prosecutors enough time to find more evidence regarding Madeleine or progress the appeal for the string of offences. But then, get this, a former police officer who had once worked on the case against him paid the debt on his behalf. She later confessed she did it because she felt sorry for him, but now admits it was a mistake.
Yeah, I can say that again. My God.
What? Who would ever feel sorry for him? Especially if you're the police officer working against him. You know what a monster he is.
But this is what I mean, though. A lot of these narcissists and psychopaths are really good at switching on charm. So he could have spun some kind of woe's me story. I'm an orphan. I'm this. I'm that. I'm just misunderstood.
Oh my gosh.
And some people who are are needing that kind of care for someone, a woman wants to care for someone or whatever and look after them, they manipulate that thing around people.
I can understand
it's a
if
real
it's
common
like
thing.
an attractive...
Don't get me wrong, it's not good, but I think they do it, and
But an attractive guy, the one that everyone went crazy for in America, he's got the tattoo.
Oh yeah, Wade Wilson.
Yeah, you can understand that because he looks like a model. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's maybe he's a bad boy. This guy is not only physically one of the ugliest
Yeah, he's not
people,
really a bad boy. He's like an evil man.
And there's footage, hours and hours of footage of him essaying children. So what woman sees that and goes, you know what? I'm going to pay off his fine to help him get out into society quicker. And she worked for the police. Surely she should get fired for that. That is
or jail time, I think.
Yeah.
Put you in jail.
Yeah, you should be complicit.
Yeah.
If he commits a crime between now and the time he was meant to have been released, she should be complicit.
I'd put her in jail if I had my way.
Well, as a result of that, the gates of the prison swung open in September of this year, 2025, and it released a man prosecutors believe is as dangerous as ever. For the next 5 years, Christian must wear an electronic ankle monitor. He has to check in with the probation officer at least once a month. He can't move houses without a court approval. Despite this, the likelihood that he will reoffend in some capacity is deemed inevitable.
Mm-hmm.
Lead prosecutor for the city described him as fundamentally dangerous, warning that he had undergone no therapy and no rehabilitation, which I don't believe works anyway.
No,
someone like this, so who keeps talking about rehabilitation? For someone like this, there's something broken.
Yeah.
A psychiatrist working for the prosecution has rated him as the top league of dangerousness. And another chief prosecutor described Christian as a dangerous psychopathic sadist and said he should be placed in preventative detention after serving his sentence. Of course, he shouldn't be allowed out. However, until further evidence arises, one of the most prolific and dangerous PDF files now known in the world is a free man as of this moment.
Nice.
Mm.
God, that blows your mind when you think about it. He's out right now.
Yeah, he's out on the streets.
He's out right now. He can watch this when we put it out.
I know. So it is obviously evident, as discussed, that this man is completely evil, but how does he relate to Madeleine specifically? So German prosecutors are convinced that Christian is the man responsible for Madeleine's disappearance, and a lead German prosecutor admitted that we are sure he's the killer, but the evidence isn't enough for trial, and that he's not just our number one suspect, but our only suspect. The problem, however, is the evidence. While it's suggestive, circumstantial evidence is not strong enough to guarantee a conviction. In the UK and the US, prosecutors can proceed if circumstantial evidence builds a case that's more likely than not to succeed. So that's kind of the standard. However, in Germany, the threshold is much higher. Circumstantial inferential evidence is very rarely enough. You basically need direct, just proof that is undeniable. Circumstantial evidence rarely gets passed in Germany. The threshold is super high. Christian first came into German police's radar when in 2013 the McCann appeal aired on a German crime TV show called Axtenschein, XY. German police say they received useful tips that included Christian's name. He wasn't their prime suspect yet, but that's when his name first appears in the files. Then, following the 10-year anniversary appeal as mentioned in 2017, Bushing rang British authorities under Operation Grange, naming Christian. British detectives interviewed him very soon after and passed this lead on to German authorities, and it was from here Christian became a very serious person of interest. Following the accumulation of evidence, Christian was officially named the prime suspect in June 2020. It was at this announcement that they publicly stated they believe Madeleine is dead and that Christian was responsible. So it's not just we think he's a prime suspect in her disappearance, but that we think he killed her. So that's massive. What have they got that suggests that? As the clock was ticking towards his prison release in 2025, the German police had immense pressure to find evidence to put him away for the abduction and murder of Madeleine. So in June 2025 of this year, German police carried out massive excavations. 21 sites between Praia da Luz and Christian's home were dug with excavators and ground penetrating radar. They found fragments of bone and clothing. Forensic testing is ongoing, but no charges are yet to be laid against him. Still to this day, there's no charges against him, but they're frantically searching for something.
So they believe that something's out there. They just got to find it.
Yes. Or they found some things that isn't, but it's still
just
not
enough. They need a few more pieces.
Yeah.
In addition to a series of excavations in Portugal, the German police have also intensely reviewed and are searching properties that Christian lived in or owned in Germany. And what the police uncovered is actually quite chilling. So in Hanover, the police were tipped off about Christian's use of an allotment by another tenant who saw a German crime show featuring Madeleine's disappearance. This allotment was rented by Christian just after the time that Madeleine had vanished in the year 2007. Christian was living off-grid at the allotment at one point, and he was often seen with a girlfriend and slept in a VW transporter. The allotment contained a hidden cellar. The hidden cellar structure had been demolished soon after he left the allotment in around 2008 or 2007, and whatever laid beneath wasn't visible anymore. Pals have previously said that they and Christian would often joke about him being a suspect in the Madeleine case, so they would often say to him things like, "Come on, Christian, get Madeleine out of the cellar." A weird joke to make.
What a theme in this case would be who would be friends with him as well
I think
and make those kind of jokes.
There's dark jokes with friends that people can do.
Yeah.
But this guy's like a
But he's
like
an
a
actual
menace.
child
He's
molester.
an actual it's not a joke. Like it's not like haha good dark joke. It's like oh, this guy is actually capable of that.
Yeah.
So it's not a joke. It's like do you know what I mean?
I know.
So in 2025, police hauled 2 skips of concrete blocks and brought in some sniffer dogs working around the perimeter. And they also utilised ground-penetrating radar to try and find out what lay below. By afternoon, with around 100 police officers and forensic staff on scene, the cellar was finally exposed. Ultimately, the police have not disclosed what, if anything, was found during this entire search.
It's so eerie. He demolished that cellar as soon as he left.
Makes you wonder why.
Yeah.
It's a lot of effort. You could have just left it.
That's right.
A lot of effort to demolish something like that.
So that makes sense why they tried to excavate it and see what's down there.
Yeah.
But that's so eerie.
And then we have Braunschweig. So Christian also rented an allotment in Braunschweig from 2013 to 2016. So just like his last allotment, the police decided they were going to raid this one too. The owner of the Braunschweig allotment claimed that Christian wanted to build a Fritzl cell under his land. Now, of course, the Fritzl cell refers to the case of Joseph Fritzl, who in 2008 was discovered to have imprisoned his own daughter Elizabeth in a soundproof dungeon beneath their home in Austria. Over the span of 24 years, Joseph Fritzl repeatedly essayed his own daughter, resulting in the birth of 7 children. And Christian thought, yeah, I want to do that.
Unreal.
The woman said there was a hole in the floor inside the allotment house. One day he told me he wanted to put clear plastic over it. I said, what the hell for? Just so you can look down into a dirty old cellar? In retrospect, I think he really did want to build the Fritzl cellar. And this was even confirmed by another friend who was friends with Christian at the time, who said he had a cellar and he said he wanted to line it with heavy plates, like the guy in Austria. The friend alleges that whilst he was living on this property, Christian used to run a kiosk next to a school and a kindergarten in Brunswick, despite being a convicted paedophile. So he was allowed to operate, and this is what it said here. So this is what this friend said. The children would spend their pocket money on sweets here. He gave some of the children lollies for free. This Christian guy was operating near a school at the time.
It's like it's actually inconceivable at this point.
Yeah,
and then again,
it's mind blowing.
Who's his friend? So he's like, yeah, I knew that he openly said he wanted to build a Fritzl cell, and also he also used to sell lollies to kids next to school. You know he's a PDF file. Why are you friends with him? You know, there's a loneliness epidemic
Friends
out there
need
amongst
locking up
men.
as well.
Yeah, well, that too. But like, how does he have friends?
Yeah, how does he have friends? And some other people
and
don't.
some people really have loneliness in their lives and lack of girlfriends. What's the saying? Some men drown. No, some men starve of thirst whilst other men drown.
Yeah.
Why is he drowning?
Yeah, it makes no sense at all, does it? It's probably that psychopath charm. It probably is.
But even if you're charming as another
but they
dude,
know he's done that, so there's no excuse. It's not even like.
And in the other allotment, take Maddie out of the cellar. We know you're keeping her down there. What? The mind boggles.
Yeah, it's so bad.
I think even worse than in this case, he's not even the worst part of it. It's the friends. The friends at this point.
They're just as bad.
They're just as bad.
Yeah. Just as bad. Also, in addition to private spaces, the German police have been focusing on public spaces too. A neighbour from Christian's former apartment block, about 4 miles away in Hanover, says the police recently combed a public garden just there. The flat sits beside a school, and its playground is visible from many windows. So this woman said, "I've lived here for 15 years. Last week, a police helicopter hovered overhead, and there were 2 tents on the street. Officers were all over the gardens opposite, clearly looking for something. They wouldn't say what, but it makes sense now, knowing that he once lived here." So another thing to mention, he's obviously positioning himself around children.
Always, yeah.
Where he lives, works, whatever. It always has to involve children.
He can't be stopped.
So this is Christian's response. So Christian has vehemently denied any involvement in the Madeleine McCann disappearance, and has released several letters from prison proclaiming his innocence, stating, "You can never imagine how it is when the whole world believes you're a child murderer and you're not." He also said, "I got told a long time ago that the prosecutor's office was closing the Madeleine case because there is not the smallest amount of evidence and there will be no trial." Now, I'm not going to lie, he's done other stuff. I wouldn't put it past him when he's saying you can never imagine what it feels like when the whole world thinks you're a child killer. Well, you're a child essayer.
Yeah.
Like, you're not that different from a child murderer.
Yeah, for sure.
You're on the same level.
For sure.
It's the same league.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
Yeah. Like, I think it's the least of his worries.
I know.
Also, within the letter was a drawing of a daisy having the petals plucked. Some people have interpreted this as a Christian kind of doing this not guilty kind of performative thing. There was also a sketch of a dark corridor appearing to be from a prison wing. A graphologist, which is someone who analyses handwriting, called Tracy, they've said that these letters are a clear indicator that Brückner is distorted and deluded. Fantastical views are constant and unchanging. So this guy's unhinged.
Yep, totally unhinged.
Despite this, and without any further charges to be laid on him for now, Christian, as we said, remains a free man. So keep all this in mind, all these things about Christian, and they also think he might have killed Madeleine. He's out there still. His adoptive mother is now a frail, elderly woman, and she insists that she knows absolutely nothing of her son's crimes.
So what do the Portuguese have to say about Christian Brückner? Although the Portuguese police have declared Christian as an arguido, which means prime suspect, Detective Gonçalo Amaral, who was the lead investigator in the Madeleine investigation initially, but then was pulled off the case later, he then got into legal trouble with the McCanns over his book, which claimed that the Madeleine's parents had accidentally killed Madeleine. Now, what did he have to say? He said that he believed that that German PDF file, who is in prison right now, would probably end up as a scapegoat. So he believes that this is a bit of a conspiracy, that everything's going to be pinned on him, and it wasn't him at all. He still firmly believes that Madeleine's parents were the ones. So Amaral then goes further. He insists that the convicted sex offender now jailed in Germany had already been investigated and ruled out in Portugal. He was investigated at the time, and then they discarded him, he says. He added that the trailer the suspect lived in was even shipped to Germany for testing, but nothing was found there. So ultimately, he genuinely believes that the parents, like, he's absolutely not the guy. So now we get to the evidence. So now we've kind of talked in and around it, that the fact that he's a suspect, the Portuguese believe he's a prime suspect, but the previous lead investigator doesn't. Nonetheless, what are they all talking about? Let's now deep dive into all of the evidence that points to him, Christian Brückner, being the guy responsible. So first and foremost is the proximity. As discussed, Christian worked in the area for years and furthermore worked as a handyman at the resort at one time where Madeleine disappeared. This would mean he knew not just the surrounding area, but the resort layout very well. The second bit of evidence is the mobile ping. Christian made a mysterious phone call just before she was taken, and police have traced the call to the immediate area of the McCann's holiday apartment at the Ocean Club. This shows he wasn't just generally in the area, but he was right by that resort. Yeah, and right before her abduction. The third are robberies. Christian had a well-documented history of entering into apartments and stealing, and even assaulting women. He would enter through the doors or windows and come and go very easily. Additionally, one witness at the time described a blonde-haired man lurking around the McCann's block in the days leading up to May 3rd, the day she disappeared. He was described as ugly with cropped blonde hair and spots. The description matches Christian exactly. Ugly, blonde hair, kind of acne-ridden. Following bit of evidence is his home. He lived in the hills just above Praia de Luz, which is just an 11-minute drive, but he also had a rundown and dilapidated shack only 2 miles from the McCann's holiday let. This meant that abducting and then hiding Madeleine would have been very easy for him, making it more probable that it was him due to the ease in which he could have executed his abduction. So just practically speaking, it would have been very easy for him to have done so. Fifth, obviously, as we know, the sexual history. He has a violent sexual history targeting girls of all ages, from old ladies to tiny children. Then there's the matter of the car. So Christian owned a Volkswagen T3 Westphalia camper van and a 1993 Jaguar XJ R6. In particular, Christian was believed to have been living in the camper and was actively driving it during Madeleine's disappearance. There are unconfirmed discussions about this camper had been seen near the McCann's rental apartment around the time the toddler was kidnapped, and police have asked anyone who saw this vehicle to come forward. Although reports are mixed, it seems as though in 2010, Christian bought another camper reported as a red and white Allegro Bay Winnebago type RV. Disturbingly, however, the father of one of Christian's ex-girlfriends claimed that Christian had boasted that the camper could carry drugs and children. It is unclear if he was speaking about the Volkswagen camper that he had at the time of Madeleine's disappearance or the very large RV that he had bought in 2010. But Christian had used both vehicles to drive regularly back between Portugal and Germany. Additionally, a former ambulance driver who met Christian and saw the RV said, "He told me I can transport children, kids in this space, drugs and children. You can transport them in this van, and it's a very safe space in the van because nobody can find them. Nobody can catch you." Although there are some claims in 2024 that the Volkswagen camper was taken for scrap metal and destroyed by the Portuguese police, other reports suggest that it's in German police possession as of right now. Because, for example, in 2023, the UK press reported that Portuguese soil samples were being compared with traces taken from the Volkswagen camper. And in April 2024, a Spanish press reported police searching Christian's van and found hidden compartments within the van. So the press have been saying that, soils are being compared to things in the car. So that would suggest that they have this van, but it's not quite clear if it was actually destroyed or not. Regardless, it seems that Christian discovered that campers and RVs are a discreet way to transport drugs and kids between countries, which is terrifying.
Sounds like he has experience.
Yeah. Heaps of experience. Maybe Madeleine was the first one he discovered that he could transport her in that Volkswagen camper that he was staying in. And then later in 2010, when he bought the really big RV, maybe then he just kept doing it and refined his process or something like that.
Yeah, believable.
Yeah.
It fits in, right?
And you know what? It is horrifying. I traveled Europe in 2019 in like a Mazda Bongo, like a sort of like that kind of a Volkswagen camper. You can go anywhere and do anything.
How is it easy to cross borders? Do they check your
It
van?
is so easy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. It is so easy. And he was also German national. So he would have been, and, back then it would have been so easy for him as well.
Right.
But like, I would cross many borders without being checked once.
Wow.
I remember.
Did you ever get checked at any times?
Between England and Ireland,
Oh, wow.
I was checked.
Okay.
But
England, Ireland? Like
yeah,
on
like
the ferry?
yeah.
Okay.
And the other, before I got on there, they had a quick squiz through.
Yeah.
But then other than that, I mean, I don't think I was checked once.
No way. Yeah.
Actually, sorry, England to France as well.
Right.
After the tunnel.
Yeah, standard.
But other than that, I went Germany, Austria, Belgium. I was never checked. So it makes sense that, especially if you have a big van, you hide a child in there. Horrifying. So that's a big point. He had a method of transporting discreetly children.
Christ.
Horrible.
And that's not it. There's more. This is just the start. There's
This is
way
the start.
more.
Let's keep going.
There's way more things. So number 7, the sudden escape. So the very next day after Madeleine's disappearance, Christian re-registered his old Jaguar that he owned, and he put it in the name of his friend Alexander Bischoff, who lived in Germany, despite the vehicle never leaving Portugal. Christian, however, rapidly left Portugal in his camper van, and the timing of this is incredibly suspicious to say the least. Why did he leave in such a rush?
Yeah.
Why did he register that car? Questions that need answering, definitely.
For sure.
So number 8, we also have the witness, Bushing, who we mentioned earlier, his friend, who he confessed to, I think it was at a music festival in Spain, and it corroborated the times.
Yeah.
So this witness came forward and told the police, obviously, so we have that guy, but also we have another person. So number 9, we have someone called Michael Taschel. So Taschel is another witness who testified at the 2024 trials. He said he became convinced of Christian's involvement after watching an 8-part Netflix documentary about the case of Madeleine McCann. It was when the female tourist in the documentary talked about the man turning up at her door where her child was playing. Then I knew this was Christian for sure. She described this man as a creepy guy with acne and blonde hair, which fits his description. However, he didn't call the police. He distrusted them and had his own criminal past, but investigators soon turned up anyway and questioned him for 2 days. So this Michael Taschel told the police that he lived with Christian near Bridalous and that he was convinced that the killer was indeed Christian. This person said, "I know he did it. I was living with him at the time. He was my best friend, and he was definitely a pervert and more than capable of snatching a child for sexual kicks or money." First of all, like you said,
What's going on?
my best friend's a pervert.
Another friend. I just am baffled.
How do these people find each other? I don't
know.
understand. Where did they all come from?
I know.
So this guy openly said this was his best friend and that he definitely was capable of taking a kid for money. So this friend also went on to say, "We just thought he was a pervert. We didn't know he liked young children."
Young children.
So
he knew he
mean
liked children.
Does this mean we knew he liked, being inappropriate with women, but not kids?
No,
or does he mean kind of like the teenager years or whatever, not the young years?
Yeah.
Either way, it's not a good look, is it?
No.
You shouldn't be friends with that guy. I mean, he didn't come forward because he's got a criminal past. I imagine it's something to do with touching up women or something, because that's why he's probably friends with them.
It must be.
They didn't judge each other for what they'd done.
Exactly. It has to be. These friends must all be just like the biggest lowlives.
Yeah,
in history.
the bottom of the barrel, who all just congregate together like scum on a pond or something.
Must be.
But it gets even weirder. So, most chilling to him, Christian allegedly talked about selling children, leading this Taschel to speculate without evidence that he may have sold Madeleine to a sex ring.
Pretty damning. Like your best friend at the time that you were living with is like, oh yeah, there's without a doubt he was the type of person capable of taking a child, and he talked about selling children constantly to Morocco or whatever it is, and just so therefore I would probably suspect that he's done that. What?
Whatever's going on with Madeleine, there's a lot of talk about these rings.
Yeah.
These PDF file rings.
Yeah.
And people being sold and
and he thinks the best friend at the time, and lived with him at the time,
and a scumbag as well, who doesn't,
Yeah.
He didn't go forward to the police, but he must have been telling other people, and it got back to the police somehow.
Yeah.
So he wasn't even coming forward to try and get him in trouble. He was just telling people, "Oh yeah, he probably did it."
Yeah.
And then that person probably ratted him out to the police, who then got to him. But
for sure.
Yeah, that's a real damning one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all small pieces that really fit together, and like we said, it keeps going.
But at the end of the day, circumstantial. So
circumstantial, yeah. So we also have another witness. So number 10 is Laurentiu Codin. So this is a third witness and is a former fellow inmate who crossed paths with Christian in a German prison in 2020 where Christian allegedly confessed to him about a number of crimes. Cordin testified that Christian told him that he took a child from a wealthy area in Portugal, entering through an open window, and then drove off as the police and dogs swarmed. Now, Christian also bragged about abducting more than one victim. This, Cordin said, there was talk of a girl and that he had taken her away in a bus. He said he kept some of them, but not others. But he never said that he had killed them, and we're talking about girls, not boys. Not all at once, only one at a time. He told me about 2. He said that he had taken someone, had sex with her, but that he didn't kill her. When pressed about how old these victims were, Christian told this guy, I don't want to get it wrong, but it was very young, tiny. Cordin then claims that Christian asked him whether DNA can be removed from a child's bones if they are buried underground. Cordin also claimed that Christian asked him to burn down a property to eliminate some evidence. When asked why he was divulging all of this information to him, Cordin replied that Christian believed that Cordin was also a PDF file and that they thought they had some common ground that he could share.
Makes me think it's true. Maybe that's why these people are friends. Because there needs to be a common denominator.
Yeah. And there's a reason why Christian thought he was a PDF file too.
There must be a reason
Probably
why.
because he might have mentioned something as a kid was walking past or something.
Yeah, something's off.
Yeah. Investigators did acknowledge that he made these reports. The court, however, said that it wasn't enough evidence to support conviction. So once again, we have more circumstantial evidence, but things don't look very good.
An alleged prison confession.
It's so many people coming forward. So the next piece of evidence we have is something that Christian called his little paradise. So this little paradise was a quiet reservoir in Portugal near Praia de Luz, where he would regularly park his VW camper van and stay overnight. So witnesses who saw him in this area said that he would kind of stack stones to make himself create a low wall, a little boundary, and he would set up a table and chairs and also swim in the lake to clean himself. Photos of the setup were taken in September of 2021 and later released to the public. And as we mentioned earlier, there was the factory that was searched. Now, German officers later noted that amongst the thousands of images that they seized from this factory that belonged to Christian, they found many images that he'd taken photographs showing Christian at this location. So it's somewhere, I guess he kind of...
super special for him.
So the Germans, the Portuguese and the British police all worked together to scour this little paradise as well as the surrounding areas of the reservoir. The reservoir was originally searched by Portuguese, but due to the poor handling of the investigation, it was agreed upon that this area should be re-examined with a specific focus on the little paradise. As of right now, no findings have been made public. But it seems like this place is quite important.
Yeah, so it might have been a good place for him to have taken her. All right, so the next bit of evidence is naturally just the fact that he fits the exact criminal profiler of what we expect to see in a child abduction case. So the crime analyst Mark Hoffman, who worked with the German police, he said that his criminal past matches it exactly. Number one thing also was that he was there, as mentioned, and because most serial offenders, it's all about power and control, and they like to do it in environments which are within their comfort zones. So they normally do these sorts of things in the places where they live. And experts have also said that Christian matches the profile of a Jimmy Savile type paraphiliac who targets victims of all ages. And even his ex-lawyer has described him as having psychopathic traits and even admitted he could be responsible for Madeleine's abductions. So even his ex-lawyer is like, yeah, he absolutely could have done it.
Not even from like a professional standpoint, but his friends thought so too. So you don't even have professionals saying, oh, he fits it.
Yeah.
His friends even knew it on like a subconscious level, and even just joked about it.
Yeah.
That he's the kind of person who could have done this.
And I know that people from all backgrounds can be crazy, like a psychopath, but isn't it also part of the fact that he had so many little jobs that he could never hold down?
Mm-hmm.
Like he was constantly in and out of jail, being like a low-level, grummy sort of criminal, could never hold down a job, doing criminal, like that sort of like activities often meets that profile of like a serial offender, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to one person who's
nomadic and no ties and just kind of like
and
it's not always, but it's part of it.
Also the fact that he moved around constantly. He could never hold down even one girlfriend for a long time.
I don't think he was capable of making genuine connections with anyone
of any sort.
No, nothing. With nothing,
and also the fact that
apart from the little paradise,
and like no responsibilities in a sense. Like he can't like he has no impulse control, almost, sort of thing. Whereas it's harder to imagine that like someone who has like a day job that he's held for 20 years, who's super stable in the out, like obviously you get that serial killer, but like I would have thought that this makes more sense, even the fact that he was scrappy.
Oh, not to be fair, I will say serial killers do actually very much.
You think?
Ted Bundy, yeah, they all.
But aren't they the really famous ones, like common criminals?
Yeah,
that do the
really good at-
majority?
BTK, yeah, they're really good at hiding in.
You think?
Yeah,
Well, you would know.
They are. Yeah, they're very good.
Maybe
yeah,
not. Fair
They're
enough.
very good.
I would have thought that he like even those aspects fit
Mhm.
it, but maybe not. This is why I'm not a crime expert.
It's like it's anyone and everyone is
Yeah.
capable. It's people who sometimes you least expect, like the guy down the road who's really
So
nice
true.
and says hi to your kid and gives her a lollipop or something. I don't know.
So
Just
true.
like these people are like really good at. Well, that's what they do. It's like a tiger can camouflage.
Yeah.
It's like
Well, he
predators-
was just a terrible
predators camouflage
camouflager.
what they do. Yeah, he was, but then again, he had a lot of friends, so
Yeah.
don't know. And
Yeah.
he also was able to work around kids, live near kids, so he must have been good at it to some degree.
But also the fact that, according to the cellmate friend, he saw an open window. He was just a burglar. That was his alleged intention. He comes in through the window, sees a child, and snatches it. It's as if his prefrontal cortex isn't working. There's something damaged there or something.
Yeah,
He just saw an opportunity.
that level of impulsivity is pretty wild.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but that's the sign of like a petty criminal, someone who just like keeps doing things, has no real sense of like, even his first victim, the essay of the 6-year-old girl when he was still a minor, when he was 17, when asked as soon as he'd done it, he's like, what were you thinking? Why'd you do it? And he said, I wasn't thinking much at all. In that sense, he has no impulse control.
Mhm.
It seems to suggest all other aspects of his life. So maybe it really was intended as a burglary. There was no premeditation. He just saw an opportunity and just did it. It fits
Yeah.
that in that respect. The next thing is a possible sighting. So this one's pretty crazy. So one very common sighting mentioned is the one on the 28th of May 2007 at a remote restaurant near on the Spanish coast. 2 witnesses reported a yellow and white Volkswagen Westfalia with German plates, so the exact same vehicle that he had. One of them saw a girl identical to Maddie walk out of the restaurant at around 11 a.m. and get into the car. They were so sure they even made a note of the number plate and wrote it down, BMS 1049, and called the Guardia Civil, which is like the local police, Spanish police, but there was no CCTV footage available at the restaurant. Later, an Interpol alert from Leicestershire police surfaced urging Spanish and German authorities to follow up this lead, so it's a strong one. Whether that lead was fully run down remains contested. Juan, a handyman at the restaurant, still swears it was Maddie. He has been saying for 13 years he saw her that day, but nobody believed him because the restaurant is 1,000 kilometers from Portugal. Juan, who is in his 60s today, says the girl's face was strangely recognizable. I came home thinking, where have I seen her face? Later, I remembered I had seen her on the news. It was the English girl Maddie. I have no doubt it was a girl I had seen. Even after all these years, the image is clear in his mind, Juan said. Then there's that man, the Christian guy. I'm sure he was the man driving that van. Juan insisted the restaurant owner called the local police, and when they came back for CCTV, as we mentioned, they didn't have any cameras. Ultimately, I don't believe the local police ever acted on the information properly. I'm simply not convinced they went out of their way to eliminate this German man from their inquiries. So they have evidence today that this man actually did put that tip off and that an Interpol was sent out to follow up. I don't believe that the Spanish authorities, like the Portuguese, did their job properly. The next one is about the factory that was discovered in 2016. So there have been persistent rumors that the thousands of images of child essay uncovered in the factory also contain images of Madeleine. So persistent are these rumors that the German prosecutor for the case was questioned about it on the Australian TV show called 60 Minutes. Prosecutor stated he declined to confirm if any of the pictures and videos at the factory were of Madeleine, but he insisted that they have evidence that she has died. The prosecutor says, we have strong evidence Madeleine is dead and that our suspect killed her. We don't have the body, no parts of the body, but we have enough evidence to say our suspect killed her. Which makes me think, that's what people are saying online, that of the images, they kept mentioning a 4-year-old with blonde hair in and around the factory. What if it looked like Madeleine, but they can't 100% say it was her, but they're like dead. They're like, it very clearly her, but we can't actually ID her as her because we just have images and videos of her, sort of a thing. That's And I think that's what they're trying to say. We have evidence that he killed her. We have all this around. We even have footage potentially of her. But at the end of the day, no German, court case will convict him because it's technically not direct evidence.
Yeah.
That's to me what that sounds like very strongly. And then this is the final bit, and this has only just happened. Days after his recent release, Christian, now age 49, walked into a German phone shop and begged staff to sell him a handset anonymously with no government ID recorded, which is illegal. So the shop manager, we'll call it Farouk, who's age 32, recalled he came in and said he wanted to buy a pay-as-you-go SIM card and smartphone. It was then he really weirdly asked me if he could buy a SIM card without an ID card, which would mean no one could trace his calls. The staff explained it's illegal in Germany to register a phone without ID, as mentioned. He even pointed to his ankle tag to prove he was being monitored. But the worker grew suspicious and told him, I know who you are. Since being released, Christian had been seen at a nightclub and even trying to get free Domino's pizza before heading to the phone shop. However, everyone hates him here. No one wants him here, Farouk said. But that was not the end. The store owner had more to reveal. He states that Christian also claimed he holds the key to ending the scandal of the century, and that Christian also said that he would not last long because he knows dangerous information and that people want him killed. Although this sounds like a confession, Christian claimed the evidence he has would not only bring the scandal to an end, but end all accusations against him. The store owner said, Farouk said, it sounded to me like he was a part of something wider, something he had clearly had knowledge of. This struck me as weird, that he had said he had knowledge of this but hadn't told the police. He told me, I won't last long here. Maybe someone will murder me. Brückner then pointed to his ankle and said, look, I'm still under control. So that to me, I could end the scare. It sounds like he's saying that he has information who did kill Madeleine, but it wasn't him.
Well, like he just brought her to the people who then killed her.
Sorry?
Like he was the deliverer. Like he
That's
got her,
my
delivered
theory.
her, and they did things with her, but he never actually
Yeah,
killed.
that's my theory. I'm like, maybe
He's 100% involved.
I think,
without a shadow of a doubt, in my opinion.
Yeah. But remember how there was also, in last week's episode, we mentioned how there was a sighting of two blonde men in the street, and then someone came by and they quickly like stopped talking.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was men possibly in and around the apartment beforehand. At the very last point about, the people who looked like it could have been, we mentioned it might have been an elite ring or PDF file ring. What if he was a delivery man for them or something like that?
Yeah.
Because could he have been sophisticated enough to have gotten away with it?
Too impulsive almost. I feel like he's almost too impulsive and irrational.
Yeah.
He's not very good at not getting caught. He gets caught all the time.
Exactly.
When it's this high profile, like someone in it like him would have made major slip-ups. But then again, the Portuguese police also made major slip-ups. Yeah. So it's almost like you got an incompetent criminal with an even more incompetent police force.
That's true.
So they could kind of cancel each other out.
That's true.
I will say I do think, in my personal opinion, I think he's somewhat involved.
I think he's involved on some level, but I don't think I don't think he's got the brains for it. And also for me, those e-fit images that we spoke about last week, the girl that looked like Ghislaine to me, and then the other, I think Epstein could be involved somehow. Clarence Freud, his involvement's weird. There's so many weird elements.
There's a lot of very weird elements that are
higher up. That's
the Freud thing isn't even that well known either. Not a lot of people know about the whole Freud situation.
Which is crazy.
Turned out that he was a prolific PDF file abuser, multiple women. Even his wife was like, I'm sorry for what he's done.
Groomed lots of children.
There's just at every turn, there's these weird people like Ghislaine, there's the Freuds. It's it's a bit strange.
It's super strange. And so for me, this guy does not I think he could be the fall guy.
So as part of the investigation into Christian, the police have confirmed that there are 2 other victims that police suspect Christian was involved in. As such, they are investigating any connection to Christian, and these are the following cases. So the first victim is a girl called Inge Gerkel. Inge was just 5 years old when she went missing during a family outing in Germany in 2015. So she vanished from a stretch of woodland, and this was near a church-run assisted facility for people with mental health or alcohol problems, and she vanished on the 2nd of May. Initially, the police assumed that she had gotten lost in the forest while searching for wood for the barbecue that was planned for the evening with the family. A reward of €25,000 was offered for any clues about the child's whereabouts. However, as of right now, no one has claimed this reward. There's no information about where she has gone. Inge Gerkel's case has often been compared to Madeleine's, given that no trace of her has ever been found, and that no charges have ever come from it. In the German media, Inge has sometimes been referred to as the German Madeleine. And here's an incredibly weird part. So this was actually filed away after 4 weeks. The large-scale investigation basically stopped pretty quickly, and the mother has tried to appeal for the police to reopen the case. Seems like they have been unsuccessful so far. So as of right now, the case is open, but basically, for the most part, it's not really been investigated too much.
Horrible.
That's dark, that, yeah. And this links to Christian because at the time when this happened, Christian was involved in a minor traffic accident at a car park only 100 kilometers away. So quite far away, but he's in the general, I guess 100 kilometers is far, but it's not so far away because the traffic accident happened on the 1st of May and she vanished on the 2nd of May. So it gives him plenty of time to drive there and maybe take her.
And the police it's officially, they're looking at a potential connection. They haven't confirmed that there is one or not, but like there must be something involved.
Yeah.
You would think that they might have some information we don't have access to.
You wouldn't put it past him, would you?
No.
Like we said, he fits
It's his type.
Yeah. And the second possible victim is someone called René Hasse. So German news websites have also reported that authorities are now examining connections to the disappearance of René Hasse and Christian Brückner. René was a 6-year-old German boy who went missing from a beach in Algarve, Portugal in the year 1996. And some people believe that Christian might be the one responsible.
Again, makes sense. It's same area.
Yeah. Be interesting to, I guess he was there at the time, possibly.
Yeah.
They might have some reason to suspect that. But there are some other possible victims too.
There's one more case that police are officially looking into. It's not the Germans, but the Belgium. So the Belgian police have also reopened the case of Carola Teach, citing a possible link to Christian. Carola was just 16 when she was found murdered and mutilated on the Belgian coast. So in June 2020, Belgium officially reopened the case briefly to see if whether or not Christian was in the area. Again, we don't know the outcome of that investigation. However, there have been other possible connections made online that haven't been announced as official, but many people online discuss the possibility that Christian may have been involved in Tristan Brubach's murder in Germany, Peggy Knobloch in Germany, and Jer Soers in the Netherlands. So in particular, Tristan is a very big one because of the drawing that looks strikingly like Christian. Although it is important to note that Tristan is a boy and all of Christian Brückner's victims thus far have always been female. So I take it with a grain of salt, but people widely discuss this case. So Tristan was 13 when he was found murdered on 26th of March 1998 in a pedestrian tunnel by the Liederbach near Frankfurt Hox station. He was found beaten unconscious, strangled, his throat cut, and the body mutilated post-mortem. 3 teens glimpsed a man during the assault, producing a widely circulated composite sketch, often dubbed the ponytail suspect, but no arrest followed. That's the image there, and you can kind of see the similarity between him and Christian. He was described as a man in his late 20s or early 30s and was around 170 centimeters in height. Furthermore, he had pale white skin, very light blue eyes. He had long blonde hair that was tied in a ponytail. A girl who saw him stated that he also wore a hat on his head at the time of the murder. The man had a very sickly, disheveled appearance, as if he was homeless. He also had a very distinct scar on his lip. The scar was either from a severe wound or from a repaired cleft lip. Now, this sketch, as I mentioned, looks strikingly like Christian, but no official ties have been made by German authorities. So it seems to me unlikely it was him, possibly because, again, Christian would have been 21, almost 22 at the time of his attack, not in his late 20s or early 30s.
He's an ugly man.
Yeah.
That kind of probably aged him a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true. That's very true.
So...
Maybe. He also didn't have a distinctive scar on his lip, although it could be argued that maybe he had a temporary scar.
Mm-hmm.
That it doesn't necessarily mean that, it wouldn't have been him. And as mentioned, the victim was a boy. Tristan was a 13-year-old boy. Every single other victim we know of, and as far as we know, the public, all the SA footage, I believe, is also just female.
Okay.
That's not confirmed, but as far as I know, all of his victims have always been females. So it would be a bit out of character, wouldn't it, to suddenly go for a 13-year-old boy, unless he was...
I mean, he's an impulsive, opportunistic criminal.
True. That's true.
So I won't put it past him.
Maybe. But that's people do very frequently. And Tristan is like a big mystery in
Yeah.
Germany. And now everything that's come out with Christian, people are like, could it be, like, looking at the image, could it be him?
So that's the case of Christian
Yes.
Brückner then.
Horrible person.
Yeah.
The worst.
In my humble personal opinion, I think he's involved. I think he did it. Yeah.
I would be, but at the end of the day,
I think if there was competent police working on the case, it would have been solved a lot sooner.
without a doubt, regardless.
Yeah, and I think they would have. I think he's responsible. I find it suspicious that he left so soon after. I find it suspicious that he registered the car in his friend's name who lived in a different place. I find a lot of his behaviour strange. Like, a lot of people have come forward. Too many people come forward and said that he's told them things. I think there's a lot of circumstantial evidence pointing him to this. And there have been people in America who have been put away for less circumstantial evidence.
That's true.
There's one woman who supposedly injected acid into another woman and buried her remains in a park somewhere. And this all comes from two people who said, "Oh, she told me that."
Yeah,
There's
right.
no body, no nothing, no anything.
I mean, that's
and
a bit scary.
And she's on death row right now.
Oh, yikes.
So, and that confession came from two crack addicts.
Oh my God, that's terrifying.
Yeah. So, like,
I mean,
she probably did it.
Extreme.
She probably did it.
Yeah.
But
right.
like, there's not much evidence saying she did.
Yeah, Germany has a very high standard.
There's more on this guy than there is on her.
That's true. I am inclined to think that he didn't do it.
No.
Honestly, I think that he's involved.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, the second sighting is considered the real sighting of the abductor.
Mm-hmm.
And the two men, the E-Fit images, aren't him.
They
don't look
like
anything like him.
That's true.
And then on top of it, the 2009 sighting of the Victoria Beckham lookalike that I think looks like Ghislaine. Where's the child? Have you got the child?
Mm-hmm.
And the police investigators were looking at transport from Praia da Luz to Barcelona via water. That's how they thought for a long time. That's how she was transported. The argument that she was transported by a Volkswagen camper and just easily crossed lines is a very good theory.
Yeah.
But for me, that 2009 sighting, I don't think that's a coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
And like, again, the Clement Freud, there's weird stuff going on here.
There's so much weird stuff.
I think he's the one who went in, saw the opportunity. Oh, I actually don't think it was impulsive. I think it was premeditated. He was the guy to go in there, caught her. He probably made some money, something like that, passed her on to a bigger organization, and then, but he was involved.
That would make sense because, like, if he gets caught,
it's just a
some little
local
scumbag,
PDF file.
Yeah.
Like,
and
he's an easy guy to take the
dispose
hit.
of.
Exactly.
If he goes missing or gets injured or dies or whatever, no one's really going to miss him anyway.
Yeah, and that's what he said recently in the German store. Just now, he's just said, I have information that would end this, but like, I'm going to be killed soon because I know too much. And it's not me. I would be vindicated. Like, what is he just like throwing heat off himself to just like deflect blame? Or what's going on there? I don't think so.
He's the kind of person who would say something like that just to...
Maybe that's so true.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But that's what
guys
makes the
think?
Madeleine McCann case so interesting and fascinating as well for a lot of people, is because there's so many different angles, so many different possible suspects. And
at the heart of it is the
this is the
missing
main
3-year-old girl, which
Yeah.
is like horrific. That's why, like, it's just heartbreaking
it's
where
horrible.
that poor girl
Yeah.
is.
It's grim.
I think she's alive.
You think she's alive? I think she's
I
long
think
gone,
so.
unfortunately. But anyway, that's the case of Christian Brückner and his involvement in the Madeleine case and possible other involvements in other cases too.
Yeah.
But thanks for watching. Let us know what you think as well in the comments below. And if you have any cases, please feel free to suggest as well. And with that, take care. Thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
A police helicopter hovered overhead. That's a weird. Hovered overhead. Helicopter hovered overhead. Helicopter hovered overhead. Helicopter hovered overhead. Right, okay.
Ring-a-ding-ding. You don't need toilet paper to wee, do you? Ring-a-ding-ding.
Yeah, men do, yeah. We swipe. Ha ha ha, murder, yeah. Are you laughing over murder? No, obviously not. Fuck off. And it got like 50 likes. And I was like, are you all that fucking dense? Ring-a-ding,